Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some very exciting news in the world of chess. And in particular, if you are a chess fan from India, because somebody who has been crushing it for quite a long time just made a huge breakthrough, and I'm talking about Divya Deshmukh. She is already an extremely strong player, and she's already an Olympic gold medalist with the national team. But she just won her semifinal match in the Women's World Cup to qualify for the Candidates Tournament, a tournament that if she wins, she would then play for the World Chess Championship. And she just beat the previous challenger for the World Chess Championship as well. And by making it to the final, she has earned her first Grandmaster norm. You need 3 GM norms to become a Grandmaster. So a potential superstar breakthrough. I'm going to show you the game that she won. It was a heart attack of a game for fans. And the best part is, in the semifinals of the Women's World Cup, it's India versus China. Both matchups featuring Indian and Chinese players. And I mean, listen, that is where the chess is being dominated at the moment. So this is her matchup against Tingjie, a perennial 25-50 rated player, top 3, top 4 in the world. She just played for a world championship. I will also show you how Divya won in the quarterfinal against Haruka Dronavali in the playoffs, the rapid playoffs of their games. And I'm also going to show you Humpy Koneru versus Tingjie. This was a crazy game today. We don't know yet who is going to move on to face Divya. Could be an all-India matchup, a generational matchup in the final, or it could be Lei versus Divya. Oh my goodness, this game was bananas. It finished like an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago. Let's get into it. E4, and you know, with black, when you play the World Cup, it's a best of 2. You kind of think you play solidly. No, we have C5. Sicilian defense, knight f3, e6, and the second that this move is seen, you kind of see that black is trying to play one of the Paulsons or the Taimanov Sicilians. Divya plays c3, the idea obviously to put 2 pawns in the center like this. Black attacks the pawn, white advances, black puts the knight in the middle. Perhaps the most mysterious moment comes right here in the opening when white plays the move a3. She spent a little bit of time here. I don't know if this was psychological or prep or I don't know. But she played a3. This will stop anything from coming to b4. It's also a bit of a waiting move. Also maybe trying to get black out of prep. Stuff that you memorized before. And we have bishop to d3, castles, all normal development, solid start to the game. And now we have knight back to c7. Now you might think, okay, why leave the center of the board? You don't want white to ever take you and potentially leave you with an isolated pawn. To respond to this, black needs to play quite energetically. White needs to play quite energetically with the move b4, which is exactly what Divya finds. And now black plays knight e3. So interesting that 2 knight jumps, 1 back and 1 forward, are completely not what the computer wants. 2 moves ago, the position is hovering around equality, 0-0. And now within 2 moves, it's 1.4. The best move here is to give up the bishop that hasn't moved by activating your knight. Divya does that. Knight c1, and now queen c1. The computer prefers trade the queen, then bring in the knight if allowed, and then take back. It wants to play a queenless middle game and thinks white has a lot more development, black is a lot more passive. It's kind of hard to do that, though, so queen c1 on the board, bishop b7, but now white is able to generate some powerful initiative with rook d1, bishop b5, and knight d6. And Divya plays exactly that. The knight goes to d5. The bishop can give a check, but she obviously didn't really care that the king would go to f8. She obviously thought it was not the right decision, and she took the knight. Black took with the pawn. Very up and down middle game. Bishop takes d5 was preferable there. Pawn takes d5. And now white obviously does not have to move the knight because of the pin. White can play queen to f4, but she doesn't. She decides to move the knight and prepare for a potential infiltration on this side of the board. Still, white is slightly better because black's bishop is a little bit passive. Black also still hasn't castled until now. Now knight to d4, and I mean, I gotta tell you, visually, the position looks very nice for white. f5 looking nice and juicy. Black really should go g6, but even if you allow a knight to f5, it doesn't really matter. Tan plays rook c8 attacking the queen. The queen goes to b2. We are not even halfway done with the fireworks, because here, again, knight f5 looks very nice, f4 looks very nice. Divya does do that, black goes bishop f8, And now you can play knight b5 and try to plant one of these horses on d6. That's got to be the right approach to the position. That is exactly what Divya does. And black now has to play the move d4. It's a fascinating idea. Basically, you completely give away the pawn, right? But the point is that black will permanently activate the light-squared bishop. The material doesn't matter as much as the activity. Black has an active rook, an active bishop, etc. Tan goes here. And so now Divya is able to not just win a pawn, she's going to be able to come back and secure control over the d6 square by bringing her knight back to b5. So she won a pawn. Black now needs to rely on counterattack, right? This is a crazy game. Rook e4, knight back to d4 or d6. The rook goes back to e8. And now look at this knight journey. I mean, and then back, and then back, and then back, right? G6, and now the knight back to G3. The rook is kind of stuck, so the rook has to leave. Now rook E1 defending the pawn. Black is a pawn down. But suddenly, Divya gets into time trouble. She plays rook E2, 2 minutes on the clock for white. Black plays bishop G7, rook E1, and before you know it, knight E4 comes in, and now black is much better after pawn to D3. Pawn to D3. 55 seconds for white. Insane game. You're simply going to have to trade off here and lose in the endgame. But she goes knight D6, which is a crazy move. Attacking the rook, attacking the rook. The knight is under target, and in case you forgot, there was just a hanging pure rook on E2. Black plays bishop takes F3, which is apparently not the best move. Pawn takes F3, gets a brilliant. I don't know why it gets a brilliant. That's ridiculous. Gives away a rook. You take the rook back. Queen C6. And I think she forgets that after Queen E2, there is no Queen E8 because of this. And that's what happens. Black now plays rook C2. And in the next few moves, Divya gets a completely winning position. Queen E4, rook E4, bishop H6. White is totally winning. White is up 2 pawns. Not only is white up 2 pawns, white now has 2 minutes on the clock. The full momentum of the game has shifted. All you need to do is play knight F6 check, bring the knight back into the middle. King is always safe. Knight F6, knight D5. You go after this pawn. You try to win. Knight F6, A4. Okay, fine. Bishop D2. Knight D5, F4. She goes here. She's winning. Knight B6. Rook B2. I will maybe bring my king up. She does that. Now rook E2, and the game is probably over. Pitting. She goes here. Maybe F4. Maybe rook D4. Maybe rook C4, rook C6. Divya also has 26 minutes again, because in this time control, when you make it to the 40th move, which was right here, you gain an extra 30 minutes. So now she has an extra 30 minutes to work with. She goes all in with E6. She's going to win the pawn. Black plays B5. Tricky move, but you can take and push, and you're going to win. She gives a check. She could take. She does. Rook D7, rook F7, knight to F6. Try to promote this pawn. Just don't lose it. Rook B7. Rook B2. H4 now is a nice move because the king can't come forward. Okay, knight F6, but the king is going to get a little bit more activity. Knight E4 back. Suddenly, Divya is around 6 minutes again. She's still winning, but black is playing very fast. Clearly sensing that white isn't fully confident in the technique. King H6 back. Rook C5 attacking the pawn. Bishop D2. Divya has 3 minutes. Spectators around the world are collectively preparing themselves for a heart attack. King G7, the pawn is, okay, it can go up the board. She grabs the bishop, but apparently this endgame is a draw. Somehow. I don't know how. White is up 2 pawns. You would think that it's winning. Rook B1, but now King G7 is a mistake, apparently. Because here, white can play like H4. Instead of King G7, apparently black needed to play King H5. I have no idea. I mean, King G7. And now the advantage is gone after King G2. But it's back up after this. Now you think, all right, Divya's going to play H4 or something. She does. Black can't take this because it gives white another pass pawn. If you take, white will just advance this pawn. So H6. Divya plays H5. Black is running out of squares. Rook B7. Rook B8. Where's the win? King G3. Where's the win? And she goes F4. If rook takes, rook slides over for white. So pawn takes. King goes forward. White is winning. Rook B8. King can go forward. Okay, rook B7. Now black's king makes a run for it. Rook E7 check. B7. King D6. Divya is totally winning. Now the only winning move here is rook E4. Because if rook B7, you're going to pick up this pawn and then go on to win that game. But she goes here. Now black goes King E5. And Divya looking for a win with 2 minutes on the clock. Rook e7, only winning move, goes here! Goes here! And after rook g1 check, king here, suddenly it's looking like a draw. The only way to play for a win is to go king g2, rook b1. There's no way for white to win this game. There's no way for white to win now. Rook d7, king f5. Divya now has to just run her king over. Black has won the h-pawn. King d3, king h4, rook g7. And now here, black has to go rook b4 check. She does that. And a very important moment. Do you run the king and try to bring the pawn behind the king? Or where do you go? Do you go rook b3? Rook b3 is a weird move because white's trying to go king c6 and king c5 and promote this pawn. Black goes here, and that's losing. Apparently, black needed to go rook b3, and if king c6, then and only then go king h3. Nope, not even king h3. Rook c3 check. King d7, and it's a draw. I guess. What happens in the game is apparently this is wrong, because now king c6, there is distance with the king and the rook, I guess, which happens. Rook c1, I mean, it still looks like you have a draw, but rook g5, rook g8 is the key. Rook g, and I think, yeah, it's the only sequence. Divya has to find this idea of threatening a promotion, and now that the back rank is defended, these checks no longer work, right? Because the checks will run out. And Divya promotes and wins the game because h3, king e4, h2, rook here, and it doesn't matter because this is a win. And with that nervy game, Divya, even afterward, apologized on social media. She was like, I'm sorry to my fans if I caused anybody to have a heart attack today. Clutched it out, a 101 move game, knocking out the World Championship challenger. And she is through to the finals. And she will await the winner of Humpy Koneru versus Tingjie. And by the way Divya won against Haruka was very nice. This was a very aggressive Italian. I'm going to just kind of quickly show you. It was a main line, nothing special. In this game, Divya got one chance, and she just took it. It was a very complicated middle game. White had a large central presence. Clearly 17 moves. Look at this. Divya's not even thinking. This is 18 moves. All prepared. Rook f7. And in a couple of moves, Haruka's going to go wrong. She's going to play queen c6, which allows white to grab a pawn, but more importantly, bring the bishop, which is going to be a bazooka supporting the pawn attack. Rook e5, and now you just have an amazing attack brewing over here. Black is unable to defend. Queen b3, d5, b8, g7, too many weaknesses. And on top of that, you can always play queen b5, which was shut down, but queen d6, and that's it. Even though you have defense, it's not good enough, because rook g7, and the king slides out of the way, winning the queen. This was an amazing attacking game. Amazing. Against Haruka Dronovali, very experienced player. Divya picking up the pawns. Queen versus rook and bishop can be equal, but not when you have more pawns and not when one of your pawns is 2 squares away from becoming a queen. Queen e7, queen e6. Slowly, it's just a matter of time. You have to give up the bishop, and this is a win for white. It's a win for white because you have the f-pawn. You have the f-pawn. It looks like black has some sort of defensive fortress, but you will not be able to defend yourself. If rook here, there are different checks that will win you this game. For example, rook here, you give this check maybe, or even queen c4, rook e6, f5 is the most straightforward. Very nice game. I mean, look at the position. She played 20 moves of prep against her opponent, and then she got here, and this was really very nice. This was a very, very nervy game, this one. It felt like Humpy was about to punch her ticket to the final against Divya. It would be crazy if Divya had to knock out Haruka Dronovali and Humpy Koneru, literally the top 2, you know, in India, which is incredible. Like on the Olympic team, you know, they also have Vaishali, obviously, but Vaishali's not playing in this in these later stages. So this one was a exchange Slav. Humpy has a very positional and solid and grinding style. Knight f3, knight f6, very, very classical. This was a completely symmetrical opening. And then here, white went knight h4 with the intention of grabbing the bishop. She was going to grab it. She then attacked the queen side. Black went here. a3. She took it. Queen d7. And then she took the bishop. So it's bishop versus knights. Rook b1. b6. Bishop b5. Okay, simple. Black castles. You can put pressure. Black will defend. Now, at some point, you're going to have to kind of like break through on the queen side. That's sort of what you're hoping, right? Bishop a6, rook here. Humpy plays f3. Okay, reasonable move. And now Lei understands that if she doesn't want to get completely suffocated here, she should go e5. And that's what happens. She plays e5. Believe it or not, the best move here for white is not even to take the pawn. It's to go back, which I don't even understand. Right? But pawn takes, knight takes e5. The point being that if you take this knight, you lose your queen. That would be very unfortunate. And if you take, one of these knights will go back and take, right? Probably the f knight. That's exactly what happens. And now Humpy has this endgame to work with, right? She's going to try to put a lot of pressure. 2 pawns versus 2 pawns. This is an isolated pawn. So white will try to win one of these pawns and ultimately break through and try to win the game. Black goes knight c5. We have a bishop versus knight position. This is very, very much the type of position that white was hoping for with this opening. 40 minutes per player. Let's go to work. a5, very nice move, breaking up the structure. If you take, I bring in my rook. f6, perfect positioning of the bishop in the middle of the board. And on top of that, white's king is closer to the center, which is more beneficial for the endgame, obviously. Not beneficial in the middle game. Now white has pressure here and here. Is black equal throughout this game? Yeah, practically speaking, for sure. Rook c8, king d3. Now Lei is actually the highest rated active woman in the world. Not active as in she goes jogging a lot. Active as in, Hou Yifan is the highest rated woman in the world. But she doesn't play all that often. And to be considered active and not inactive, you have to play like maybe 1 classical game a year. So technically, Hou Yifan is still the highest rated woman in the world. But Lei Tingjie is higher rated than the women's world champion, Ju Wenjun. So she's like 2570 FIDE. So my point being, she's going to know how to defend an unpleasant rook endgame. But they get everybody. They are not very pleasant to defend. And she's got multiple weaknesses here. And, Humpy's going to get to this position. It's equal. It's still equal, but there are still practical chances. Rook here, king e6. Why king e6 and not king g6? If here, I would go rook d7. It's much worse to lose a center pawn. So you lose this pawn, but white is still very much pressuring. Rook a6. f4. Trying to, get through on this side. Black has to mix. Do I play active or do I play passive? Do I defend? What do I do? Rook a2. h4. This does not look pleasant to defend. Rook h2. Now the pawn goes to h5. Black goes rook h3. We're running away from the checks. We're going to have to run to the other side. And, okay. Whoa. If you take, I guess I'm going to promote, so we can't do that. So d4. Now black has a pass pawn, but black's king can't get any closer. King e1. Rook h1 check. I don't know why any of these moves are being deemed mistakes. Now black plays rook h... Okay, check, check. Wow. So, in this position, the king going to g2 is bad because there's d3. That's incredible. But in this position, the king going to g2 is fine because there is no d3 because the rook can get back in time. That's above my pay grade. And obviously that's the difference. Like both of these endgames were very mysterious. Instead of rook h3, now black should have went for counterplay with the pawn. Again, in these positions, when you're down a pawn in a rook endgame, it's a mix of how to give a check and how to focus on the counterplay of the pawn. And she does the wrong one. And now Humpy has time to get her rook out, get out of the checks the right way, like this. Black has to go redefend the pawns, and now you also redefend the pawns, and you are threatening g5 and h6. When those two pawns are going to go together, you're just going to be winning. She goes back to c7 to win the pawn. The game review is just spazzing. I don't know why it keeps doing this. And, you know, the craziest part here about this game is white is totally winning. Rook h4, king d3, king d4, or rook d5, rook d4. That's exactly what's happening. Rook h6, king d4. And now the move you have to play here with white is rook to d5. And the point is, you cut the king off. So rook d5, king c5, you get in with the king, you play f5 check, rook d5, you advance your pawn, you're totally winning. Rook d5, get the king in there, like this. Rook d5, you know, maybe black plays f5, but you play king here. This is the winning idea. And if this, rook d6, rook d4, and you start playing king c6 and c5, and this is the way that you try to win. But instead of that, white went f5 straight away. And this allows the king to slide over one rank. And this one rank is the difference between a win and a draw. The fact that now, if you ever push the pawn, which is going to happen, the king is there. And you need to defend against the pawn in a rook endgame, either in front of the pawn or on the short side. This is the short side of the board. This is the long side. And if in this position rook d5 had been played, the king would have been kept on the long side indefinitely. Very subtle endgame details that with 90 seconds on the clock, after 4 hours, sometimes you miss. As we see, endgames are crazy. Rook endgames are some of the most mysterious in chess. But f5, king d6, and now this is just a draw. It doesn't even matter because the king can't even get to a position to push the king away. And I think Humpy will definitely be a little bit frustrated with herself. A player of such class definitely goes back, analyzes the game, and is like, oh, of course rook d5, right? Of course rook d5. But it's not a knockout. 2 draws. They have to play a tiebreak, which they will play, and they will try to qualify to play, well, frankly, either Haruka or Divya, you will play for a 3rd and 4th place match, which does matter, because if you finish 3rd in this tournament, you still make it to the candidates. If you make it to the finals, you already clinch a spot, but your 3rd and 4th place also do battle for a candidate spot. So big congratulations to Divya Deshmukh. Indian chess just keeps impressing. You got a world champion, all right? You got Prague and Arjun, who are 2780 in the top 5 of chess, right? You have Vaishali, who became a GM. You have Divya now, first GM norm, in the candidates as well. They're also the Olympiad champions on both sides. So really great times, honestly. And what more can I say? Just great stuff. That's all I have for you today. You got 8 more days in the July challenge on Chessly to get a limited edition summer badge, and then we will do an August challenge starting on the 1st. Check it out. 7 days, no card required. Link is always in the description. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.